So one of the things that a lot of people don't fully understand is their steering wheel settings. A lot of people will hit me up and ask me, "Hey, Tommy, what should I do in terms of my iRacing settings? What should my force feedback be, my strength? If I use iRFFB, what should I put that at?" And today I'm going to not only cover that, but probably the most important settings for your steering wheel, and they're actually not in iRacing. What's up, everybody? Thomas Brandon here. Thank you very much, as always, for joining me. And we got another Fast Friday video today. Now, apologies really quick. I had two other videos I was going to do this week. We actually had a big mishap, unfortunate circumstances here at the house where I was major plumbing issue. I've literally spent the whole week digging ditches and just putting pipe in. It's just been a nightmare. So I'm so backed up right now on this stuff, but I wanted to get this video out to you because number one, it should be quick since it's supposed to be Fast Friday, but also because this is something that I had talked about in a previous video I had done when I did the non-wing 360 race. And I talked about redoing my settings and getting the car really dialed in, getting it to feel much better for me after that. I ended up winning that race. Now, that wasn't just because of the steering wheel settings, but the steering wheel settings helped. And what had happened for me was when I rebuilt my computer system right back here a few months ago, there was a lot of stuff that I had to reinstall onto the system. And when I did that, a lot of the settings had reverted back to the default settings. And then shortly after that, I was gone for 3 weeks in Mexico. And so when I got back, I was having some issues with my driving, and I was like, God dang, I can't believe I'm this rusty and I just can't keep the car straight or stay off the wall. Well, when I finally started diving into it more and more, I realized that, oh my gosh, I think my settings are wrong, and they were. And so once I figured that out, then I got things dialed back in, and things have been much better. So what settings am I talking about? Well, let's head over and take a look. All right, so first things first, we need to put 5 minutes up on the screen, and we'll see if we can actually get it done within 5 minutes today. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. You don't think? I don't think so neither. So, all right. Anyways, so what is the first setting that I'm talking about? Well, the first setting that I'm talking about is actually going to do with your control panel. So for Thrustmaster, they have their own firmware. Logitech will have theirs, Fanatec will have theirs, and all of the systems, okay, no matter what type of wheel you have, they're going to have something that looks similar to this. And their settings, their gain settings or force feedback settings, are basically the same as these. They might be titled or labeled differently, but they are essentially the same thing, okay? The most important ones, all right, are actually these ones right here. Okay, so the constant, that is constant, the constant force feedback. So that's going to be something like G forces. Okay, that's what you're feeling in the wheel. Periodic, it's as the name says. Periodic are those periodic forces, hitting a wall, hitting a bump, going over a rumble strip, something like that. Those are periodic forces. Okay, the spring, this has to do with what is the centering spring. Now, back in the day on older wheels, there was an actual centering spring. Now, they still call it that, but these don't have centering springs in them anymore. The newer ones don't. So the centering spring, what this does is as the farther you get away from the center, the more that this kicks in, okay? Now, damper is just the friction of the wheel. I leave that at 0 because I'll take care of that within iRacing. And then Thrustmaster has this new thing, boost, constant, plus spring. I just leave that off. I don't even mess with that. And then this last one is the auto center. Most of the time, most firmwares, and I know Thrustmaster does this, but default, it's going to be checked by the game. And what auto center is it's just as it sounds. The more you try to turn away from the center, the more it's going to try and force it back. Okay, so it actually, you try to turn, and it's actually harder to get to get further from the center. All right, now if you've ever driven a car or a race car or anything like that, I can tell you right now, the auto center and stuff like that, those types of things don't happen. Okay, what it is and what they're trying to do is, if you, for those of you who've ever driven a real car in your life, if you turn the steering wheel a ton, let's say you're making a U-turn, right? And so you crank the wheel a ton to the left, and then you hit the throttle and you kind of let go of the wheel. You're still holding it, but you're loosening it up and you're letting the wheel slide back through your hands as you're straightening out. It's basically trying to recreate that. It's trying to simulate that. Okay. Now, with a race car, that's going to happen naturally, right? You don't need to have this stuff cranked up to be kind of forcing the issue. And for me, it's a really big problem. I hate the way that it feels. I don't like that. And so I turn those down. So for you, I would look at these settings. And the way that you do that is you just go down to if you have Windows, which most of you do, you're going to go down to the search panel here and just type in control. All right, and it'll pop up the USB game controllers. Click on your wheel and then go to your settings. And like I said, Logitech, Fanatec, all of them will have some kind of firmware like this, okay? And look at these settings. You don't have to run them exactly the way I do, but the ones that have a centering spring or the auto center, those I would try putting those at 0 and see how it feels, okay? Now, once you've got that, then you need to actually get your stuff calibrated in the game. So let's head over and take a look at that next. All right, so now that we are in iRacing, the next thing that we need to do is we need to make sure to calibrate our wheel. Now, this is something that a ton of people always ask me about. And the reason why they ask me about this is because, first of all, I actually have... it's somewhere out there and I don't know where it is because it was one of the earlier videos I had done. I had watched a video by a guy who is pretty well respected, and he was talking about this whole wheel range and map range and how you can, you know, have one and you can change this map range and it helps you keep the car straighter, just all kinds of stuff. And the truth is, no, if I felt any difference, to be honest, it was probably like, you know, what do they call that? I can't. Oh, placebo. There you go. It's probably a placebo effect, to be honest. It probably was. Now, since that video very, very long time ago, I put out some other videos on your settings and, you know, things like that. And the bottom line is this. When you calibrate your wheel, there's a couple of things you need to do, okay? Number one is when you calibrate it, don't look at the numbers, all right? Look at your wheel. So turn it to the right, turn it to the left, and then center it, okay? When you got it centered, I don't care what this number says. That doesn't matter. Just make sure that this is centered, okay? And when you turn it 90 degrees to the left, all right, you turn it and you make sure that it is, and then you hit this. This number means nothing, okay? It really does. It doesn't matter, all right? Because people will be like, well, Tommy, I've got a 1080 wheel. Who cares? Okay, if you have a 1080 wheel and it calibrates to 1027, it doesn't matter. If you do exactly what I just showed you, you're going to get a 1-to-1 movement. And I'm moving my wheel and this is matching it. And that's what you want. You don't want to start messing with these and sliding these, because what's going to happen is you're going to end up with a dead spot. Okay, and it could be very, very slight, but as we know, when you're racing, even the slightest little bit of lag can be a big deal. Okay, so that's the way you want to calibrate it. Now, these numbers, all right, wheel force, this is the force that your wheel puts out. So you want to actually go look this up. Like a T300, it's somewhere around 4.2 Newton meters, right? So if you've got the new, you know, CSL direct drive, the, you know, the new one, the smaller one or whatever, it's what, 8 Newton meters or something like that. So you would put this to that number, okay? Then put your damping to 0. Your minimum force, if you've got a belt drive wheel, it's going to be somewhere, you know, 0 to 3%. If you've got, you know, a G29, a Thrustmaster TMX, a T150, something like that, this could be up to like 10%. There is a wheel check utility that you can use. To be honest, you know, it's not the end of the world, right? If you've got one of those lower end wheels, put it between like 8 and 10%. If you've got something higher, put it between 0 and 3%. Like that, I mean, that's really it, okay? I've done a ton of testing, and that's where it almost always lands. Linear mode, a lot of people get this mixed up because iRacing, they kind of do this sometimes with their explanations, and they get things backwards. It says, if not checked, we will boost the smaller forces and decrease the larger forces. This may help weaker wheels feel more lively. Stronger wheels, especially direct drive, will feel better with this checked. My wheel is a Thrustmaster T300, okay? It is not a direct drive. But when having this checked, what it does is it allows the settings to be much more natural. when I have this unchecked and they're boosting those settings and stuff like that, it makes the wheel feel really clunky to me with this belt drive. Okay, so that's why I have this checked. Whatever you do, you want to make sure that your settings are consistent across all cars. And what I mean by that is this: if you use linear mode, use it in every car that you race. Your strength, will be different, right? I run 6.6 in a 410 sprint car. In the next gen cup car, I run like 25 in terms of my strength, okay? Because it's a different car. Those can be different. But if you're going to use linear mode, use it across the board for everything, okay? So once you've got those, now your steering is set. You are good to go, okay? And what you can do is you can go out and now you can test and go out and run some laps. And then if you want to actually bring back up those auto center and stuff like that and kind of play with those, then you can do that. Okay, and it's really, really simple. Like I said, you just go to the USB controllers, just type in control, there's the control panel, pops up, click on it, properties, and then you can go over here to the gain settings and you can start tweaking with it and you're good to go. Now you can test it and get a feel for it. But if you have not tried turning off the spring, the damper, and this auto center, I would really recommend trying it because it makes a huge difference. All right, so the last thing is iRFFB, and I've had a ton of people asking me about this because I don't use iRFFB anymore. Now, the reason I stopped using it is this. Leading up to the 24 Hours of Daytona, I was having a lot of issues with the VJoy driver. That driver just kept screwing stuff up. It was really just getting to a point where it was driving me nuts. And so I just uninstalled it. And one of the things that I had been told by a bunch of people is that since iRacing had updated tires and done all these different updates to, not just the, cars on asphalt, but, the dirt cars, stuff like that. So a lot of people were saying, hey, the iRacing force feedback feels much better than it did before. I don't think you need iRFFB. So I tried it and I was like, it does. It feels way better. So I just got rid of it to run the 24 Hours of Daytona because I didn't want to take the risk of something happening and VJoy crashing my system or some crap like that. So I just got rid of it. Now there are situations where I will throw on iRFFB if I'm trying a different car or if I'm trying to kind of get a feel for a certain situation or setup type thing. So I will do it in very certain situations, but for the most part, I stopped using it. Now, when I do use it, okay, these are the settings that I use because I've had a ton of people ask me about this. So let me show you those real quick. So first of all, because I no longer have VJoy on my system, nor will I put it back on my system, I use the 360 hertz interpolated. Now, there's a lag issue, okay? There is a delay. Now, you're talking about, it's like 20 milliseconds or something like that, because the 360 hertz interpolated is a telemetry-based force feedback as opposed to the direct filtered, which is a direct one. To be honest, I can't feel it. I don't know it, okay? Maybe it's because I'm just not quick enough. My reaction times are slow. I don't know what it is, but I don't notice the difference, okay? I really don't. Honestly, I don't use it as much anymore, so that could be why, full disclosure, but I don't do that anymore, okay? Max force, this always gets people screwed up. The higher that this number is, the less force feedback you're going to have. I know it's backwards, but that's the way that it is. Typically, I would start it out with it at 65, and then I would just decrease it as you want it to feel, stronger. But here's the thing. The reason I would start this at 65 is because the SOP effect. SOP effect can add a lot of clipping if you use it really high. On dirt, I used to actually crank it up to like 20, 25 when I would be using it. Now, if I even have it on, it's going to be like 15 to 5. Like, I have it pretty low. Now, the good thing about the SOP effect is it does give you, it's called seat of pants. And on the dirt side, when you turn off that auto center and that centering springs, one of the things I've noticed is it does give you a good feel for the cushion. You get a good feel of the car. You can actually feel the thing grip. So I do like that in a way, okay? So that is nice, but I don't crank it up too high, because if you crank it up too high, then it starts to actually feel like it's trying to correct the car for you, and I don't like that, okay? Asphalt side, I'll turn it up to maybe 25 to 30, depending on what I'm driving, all right? And this is when I use it. Like I said, I don't really use it anymore. Suspension bumps, that is, as it says, bumps. How much bumps do you want to feel? The one car that I do still enjoy using iRFFB with is the non-wing sprint car, because I can crank up the suspension bumps turn off the SOP and then get the force feedback, I usually run at about 50. And it feels like you're driving a non-wing sprint car in the sense that you can actually feel the front end dancing around. You can feel all that stuff with the suspension bump. So I do like that because it gives me a sense of when my front tires are off the ground and everything. Every other car, just suspension. That's all it is, okay? So, I mean, just put it at whatever feels good, all right? But that's iRFFB, you guys, in a nutshell, okay? Yes, it works. It feels great. I stand by what I said, you know, last year when I put out the first video on iRFFB. I thought it was absolutely incredible for that time. Since iRacing has updated their tires on a lot of the cars, specifically dirt, I don't think you have to have this anymore. I don't think you need this like you did before because the new tires have so much better feel to them. They actually feel like you're in the track. It doesn't feel like you're driving through sand. If iRFFB is something that you like and you want to use, then use it. Go right ahead. Like I said, there's still times it's rare that I'll throw it on. And maybe one day I'll start using it again. I don't know, right? I'm always testing and trying different things for you guys. So it's really up to it, just kind of whatever I land on, whatever I feel like. But overall, if you want to use it, if you don't, it doesn't matter, okay? If you want to actually use this and you want to do the direct way, you can get that VJoy driver. All you gotta do is type in iRFFB VJoy and it'll pop up. It's the 2.18 version. Okay, just Google it and you'll be able to get it. So it's pretty straightforward. All right, you guys. So that is gonna do it all for this week's Fast Friday video. And I can already tell by looking at this, it was more than 5 minutes. It was from the time I started the topic to the time I ended, it was more than 5 minutes. But forgive me, I had a ton of stuff I was trying to get into that video, and I wanted to make sure that I covered it all for you and covered it thoroughly, so that way you actually could understand it. Remember, the key is really getting your control panel settings dialed in for whatever you've got, a Fanatec, you know, a Semi-Cube, a Thrustmaster, whatever it is. Getting those dialed in. Okay, go calibrate your wheel in iRacing, get that dialed in, and then you can come back to those control panel settings and tweak those as you see fit. But like I said, try it with that spring turned down to 0 and that auto centering stuff off. Try that out and see if it doesn't feel better to you, because for me, it makes a world of difference, absolute world of difference. All right. But like I said, that's going to do it all for this video. Now, really quick, do me a favor. You know what to do. You know what I'm going to say. If you like it, hit the like button. Also, make sure to subscribe. And if you've got any other stuff that you would like me to cover in a Fast Friday video, right, something quick, easy to digest, leave it down in the comments below. I've actually got people who did that in the last one, and I've got a couple of ideas that I'm going to be covering in future Fast Friday videos from those comments. And if you have something you want me to cover like in depth or something like that, it's going to be longer than a 5-minute topic, which we still haven't kept it under 5 minutes yet, but you know, you never know, maybe in the future. But if you want me to do something like that, put that in the comments. Like I said, I'll check those out and you know, get some more ideas for you guys, because I'm always looking for stuff to do to help you guys, because that's the whole reason we started doing this stuff. Also, if you want to get any of our free setup guides, free setups, paints, any of that stuff, and I do have free asphalt paints are coming for the NASCARs. They will be up here in the coming weeks. Because, like I said, just everything that's been happening over these last couple weeks has really just screwed stuff up for me. It's pushed everything way far back, but those will be coming. Also, I will be putting up new free setups for the NASCAR truck, Xfinity, and Next Gen. They're going to be similar to like the free setups we have on all the dirt cars, where they're just improved baseline setups that you can use to build from. So those will be coming in those will be up in the coming weeks. I said coming a lot there. Those will be up in the coming weeks. If you want to get any of that stuff, make sure that you head over to schoolofsimracing.net. Click on the button that says join community, and that'll get you access to the free membership site. You've got to sign up for that, because you have to have your email. That's your login to get access to everything. So make sure you do that. Plus, it'll give you access to our Facebook group, and most importantly, our Discord server, which is, in my opinion, the best sim racing community online today. But of course, I'm going to be a little biased, right? I'm going to be a little partial to it, but it's a really great place, and you can meet a ton of people and get a lot of help, which is the most important thing. Finally, if you want to join me, I do live stream here on this YouTube channel. I'm going to be live streaming actually tonight. I'm going to be running the NIS race at Auto Club. I will be live streaming that at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to start probably about 8:30 p.m. Eastern, do a little bit of practice leading up to the race, getting the car dialed in, just kind of the last few minute tweaks, and then we're going to run the race. So if you want to join me for my live streams, make sure that you're subscribed so you get notified when I go live. I do live stream Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, sometimes Fridays, sometimes Mondays. It kind of depends. And right now during the week, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are kind of hit and miss because my son just started baseball practice. And so there's a couple nights a week that I might miss. But overall, I try to live stream at least 2 or 3 nights a week because it's just fun to come out and race and hang out with you guys, and girls, you know, men and women, because we've got everybody who comes out, and it's a lot of fun. So if you want to check any of that stuff out, there's links for all of it down in the description below. But that's going to do it. Thank you very much, as always, for joining me. And until next time, I want to wish you good luck, good racing. Take care.